Charlotte Ann Lucas. I run NOWCastSA. NOWCastSA is an 11-year-old nonprofit news organization whose nonprofit mission is to promote and facilitate an inclusive civic conversation. And so we are right at the heart of our mission, our nonprofit mission here today. And I'm very, very glad that we are here at the Ella Austin Community Center. Ella Austin, for those of you who may not know, Ella Austin started out in about 1897 as San Antonio's black orphanage for black children. And it was in another part of town, and then around 1967, 68, it moved into this building under a lease with the city of San Antonio. And Ella Austin has helped thousands and thousands of people from cradle to grave for 53 years. It's a very, very important part of the community, and it's really terrific to be here today. To Ella Austin, thank you for giving us this facility. We were going to be meeting in the courtyard, but it looks awfully likely that we should be inside as opposed to outside waiting for thunderstorms today. This also could not have happened without support from Good Goods, Teach for America, my wonderful media partners, San Antonio Heron, the San Antonio Current, the local community news, and Beverly Watts Davis and the West Care Foundation. Thank you so very much for sponsoring this event. The Conservation Society of San Antonio, Chica Verde, the Dakota, Frost Bank, and of course, the Ella Austin Community Center, who gave us this facility for the day. As we are all here because there is a runoff in District 2, and the runoff candidates are here with us today. We have Jada Andrews-Sullivan and Jalen. McKee-Rodriquez, I'm sorry. I needed a little bit more water. Thank you so much. And I also want to introduce my co-host for today, Ben Olivo, of the San Antonio Heron. Ben?
Thank you all for being here. My name is Ben Olivo, co-founder of the San Antonio Heron. We write about downtown development and the impact that development has on surrounding neighborhoods, such as all the neighborhoods on the east side, west side, south side, and so forth. We've been around for 3 years, and CA and I, this is why we do this, is for these types of events. And so, thank you all for having me. We have a campaign next month, so be on the lookout for that. So, thank you.
The Heron is also a nonprofit, and it also exists through the generous donations of people like you. Okay. Here's what we're going to expect right now. We are going to do a Q&A. We're going to start with opening statements from each candidate and then do a Q&A with some questions that Ben and I have. We're going to go back and forth with the candidates, and then I'm relying on some timekeepers in the audience to also let us know when we reach halftime here. And at the halftime mark, which I think I've pegged at somewhere around 2:40 p.m., so I'm counting on you guys because I'm not watching my watch. At 2:40 p.m. we will be taking a break, and we will be doing a door prize. There is an amazing door prize. There are amazing. I can remember that part. Pardon me? I can remember that part. Cool. Okay. Okay. And we'll break for that, and then we'll come back to the questions. And we also are getting questions that you folks also have put forth, and in addition to the questions that we've got in advance. Okay? So by flip of the coin, we decided that who was going to go first on the opening statements, and of course at the very end we'll do closing statements too, so you guys can wrap up any loose ends that you feel like you need to address. And we're going to start out with Jalen, opening statement. Oh yes, you need a microphone for that.
Yes, ma'am. I want to start off by saying thank you guys so much for having me. I know that all we want is more campaigns and more politics for another month. So thank y'all for staying tuned and thank y'all for staying engaged. This is a super critical race. My name is Jalen McKee-Rodriquez. I'm a 26-year-old high school math teacher, a husband, the oldest of 7, and the son of 2 veterans. I moved to San Antonio 8 years ago to attend UTSA, where I got my BA in communication, and where I'll be graduating this summer with my master's in educational leadership and policy studies. I am formerly a board member with Stonewall Democrats, a member of Texas Organizing Project, and San Antonio DSA. I also have the experience of serving as a volunteer with City Year at Davis Middle School, court-appointed special advocates, and Fiesta Youth. I'm running because I believe that we deserve regular working class people representing us in office. We need more teachers, social workers, employees, people who make the median income in San Antonio, not people who make $90,000, $100,000, $500,000 a year. We need people who are going to feel the impacts of the decisions that they make on the dais. People who are going to put interests of the people and the working class over developers and corporations. We deserve stability and we deserve consistency, but that's not what we're getting right now. Stability and consistency is not flip-flopping in votes. It's not closing an office for a year. It's not refusing phone calls from those who consistently need support. It's not having 4 to 5 employees resign in less than a year because of poor working conditions. We deserve stability and consistency, and we deserve quality leadership with integrity, with open ears and a willingness to work with others. I commit to being that leader, and for that, I'm asking for your vote on June 5th. Thank you.
Hello, I am your City Councilwoman, Jada Andrews-Sullivan. I am your 5th council person in 5 years, which means that we have a revolving door of inconsistency. As we have been in the seat for 2 years, we have seen what we have been able to do by bringing us, a community, together. We have looked at what it means to have development that speaks to the identity of our district. No longer allowing development that comes in that's inconsistent, that's overpowering and overshadowing our residents that live in our district. We continue to listen to your calls, and even though the world decided to hand us a pandemic, we rose above that. And we rose above that by making sure that we got the streets worked on, that we got infrastructure that speaks to areas that had not seen it in over 20 years, that we continue to work with our community neighborhood association presidents by bringing in things that are needed for our community, such as drainage. We make sure that we continue to work, honor, and uplift the foundation in which many before us have laid. We know that District 2 can be the brightest and the shining light of the city of San Antonio. That's what we continue to do. Even though we know we have a long road ahead of us, we're here to do the work. We didn't do it on a part-time basis. We didn't do it on an as-needed basis. We did it on a daily basis, and we continue to strive to make the mark that will make the difference. So as we go forward in unity, continuing to educate, empower, and uplift our district. That's what District 2 needs. That's what we are, and that's what we can do together. Thank you.
So we'll start with the questions, and this one's actually from the audience. What will you do to protect vulnerable neighborhoods, urban neighborhoods, and legacy homeowners from encroaching development, especially sacrificing and approving zoning from residential to commercial? And we'll start with you, Councilman.
Thank you so much. And we have had this issue, especially within our Government Hill and Dignity areas. Continuing to listen to the residents, continuing to make those decisions, and listen to those that are the hardest to make sure that we are consistent. We changed the UDC to make sure that anything that is coming into our neighborhoods meets the identity of our neighborhoods. That means from the setbacks to the height of our residents and our buildings that we're putting into the districts, to making sure that we're not having those alcoholic sales next to our schools, but ensuring that our community knows that we're here. And that is making sure that we speak up. Even if everyone else on the dais doesn't agree, we continue to speak for the residents of our community. And that happens by all of us speaking, communicating, and working together. Thank you.
I'll start off by saying that one of the biggest issues that we have in San Antonio is that for so long, our council members have been handpicked and chosen by developers. And it's done by way of contributions in the top dollar amount, $500. And it's not just one $500 donation, it's from their entire family. It's when you get campaign finance reports that show 87% of donations are $500 or more. That's not transparency. And that's why we see this pay-to-play system where the developers who fuel your campaign are chosen to be zoning commissioners and HDRC commissioners. And whose interests do they have in mind? Their own and their profits. They do not have Mrs. Garcia's interests in mind. They do not have your neighbor's interests in mind. So I have committed myself to not accepting any developer money throughout the entire campaign and, if elected, moving forward. We also need a clear, consistent, transparent zoning appointment process so that that person who is elected, who is appointed to the zoning commission or the HDRC commission has been chosen and vetted by the community and will represent the community's best interests. And it doesn't just stop there. The zoning process itself does need to be community driven. We see compromises taking place and people being lied to, told one thing at a community meeting, and then you get on the dais and you hear something entirely different. That needs to change, it needs to stop, and I commit to that.
I'm going to repeat something that I said when I was doing the broader forum, and that is that some of these questions are questions that I've been asking for a long time, and so I'm going to be asking for specifics, and I promise that I'm going to do what I said I was going to do before, which is come back in 6 months, whoever is elected, and say, all right, how are you doing on this thing that you said you were going to do? Okay? Specifics. What specific steps will you take to make broadband access available and affordable to all residents?
This is one of my favorite questions. So, City Council passes policy through Council Consideration Requests, CCRs. And day one, I have about 7 that I would like to begin circulating, collecting signatures, and seeing the City Council vote on it. One of those is a right to internet ordinance that would establish municipally owned broadband that would be accessible to everyone in the city. Easy step.
So when you think about broadband, we as the city and the city council have already taken the steps to make sure that broadband is in our communities by working with our school districts, making sure that we expand the city of San Antonio's network to our school systems so that our students have access to class and their instructions that they need. Also, by making sure that we are working with our Office of Innovation and Technology, we're going forward to expand that to our community centers as well. So it's already a process that is going. We have state dollars that will also be going into broadband that we're bringing into the city and the city area. And so those are the steps that we're taking. We will continue to expand on those steps. We will continue to get the technology that we need out to the communities, and we'll continue to build on our system as the city of San Antonio as we outreach and extend our network to our school systems, to our community centers, making sure VIA has those networks that we can bring into our communities is what we're doing and what we will expand on. Thank you.
Next question. What is one thing the city can do to increase transparency in local government or to better engage its citizens?
So that is a wonderful question that we are already having downtown. And the way that we do that is not only through what we see on the internet. And we know a lot of our community does not have access to the internet. And when you go on the internet into the City of San Antonio's website, there is some things that are hard to find. So we are working with the Department of Developmental Services, at this time, to make it a little bit more transparent to where our communities can see those houses that are being built that don't need to be rezoned, those areas that are being developed that we don't need to have come to the community or the neighborhood associations. How do we get that information into the hands of our community? And that is through community outreach coordinators that we are using to go door to door within our most vulnerable communities that do not have access to internet. And we make sure that we do that through health outreach and health coordination. So those are the things that we're doing. We're getting out into the community, getting it into the hands. Is there better transparency? Yes, it is coming. It is coming in the form of the way that the city council and our community knows that we know that you need to have better transparency in what we're doing. And we're doing that not only through technology, but through paper, through all of our departments having newsletters, and making sure that you are signed up to receive all of the services that you are looking for. So thank you so much.
I'll start off by saying this through the lens of the zoning process. There's no reason that people should have to call in from work to attend a meeting where they can give input on something that is going to drastically alter their lives and their livelihoods and their households. So I think one thing is the times at which meetings are taking place, especially for crucial votes and crucial cases and things like that. We also see I called in for a CPS board meeting, and I know this is disheartening to constituents because it was disheartening to me, is that you go to give input and you see no faces on this online portal. As a teacher, I've had to adapt. I've had to make sure that my lessons are engaging, are thoughtful, and are interactive. That is not what is happening with any of the public input meetings, and I'm using CPS as an example. We also see it time and time again that events where public input is solicited, they're being advertised way too late and often only on social media. And that's also not acceptable. It's not transparent and it's not accessible. There's a number of ways that throughout the campaign that I've learned is a quality way to reach people, and direct to mail is one of those. Block walking, canvassing, these putting boots on the ground and going and meeting people where they are, that is absolutely a way to make our local government accessible and transparent and inclusive. Thank you.
Homelessness is a problem throughout San Antonio and in District 2. Give us 3 specific examples of things you will do to address this problem in your first 6 months on the job.
Oh, I'm trying to think quickly. So homelessness, we know, is a huge, huge crisis in San Antonio, and it's one that's complex. It's not one that can be solved even in 3 solutions. One of the things I'm very supportive of is the purchase of hotels as emergency shelter for the houseless. I believe we need to ban anti-homeless architecture. That's one of those cruel, inhumane ways that is it's not a solution. We need to counter these ideas and really challenge the ideas that push people away. They're not eliminating the problem of homelessness. They're pushing them into other neighborhoods and into other sides of town. And it's not. We need more than the 3. So the hotels, banning anti-homeless architecture. I would also say that this is more public safety, but it very much falls into this, is that we don't have experts making a lot of decisions when it comes to public safety, and we are criminalizing poverty and homelessness and arresting people who do not have the means to care for themselves and have no way out. So I think we need a city department that is specifically focused on crime prevention and recidivism, but would also pass policy and budgeting recommendations that would do numbers in job development, in solving the problem of homelessness, addressing what areas of town need the most infrastructure improvements, and how that is all going to play into crime, because these are all interconnected issues. Thank you.
Well, we've taken the first step, and we've taken the first step with working with the Housing First Community Coalition. And coalition building is how we overcome a lot of the city's problems. We started with the Town Twin Villages, which will be for our 55 and up seniors who are chronically homeless or need affordable housing. We started when we adapted buying the hotels during COVID to where we could house those who were the most vulnerable. And we continue to make that happen through the existence of our CDBG funds and our community development building grants. That's how we take those steps. We continue working with the partners such as Mr. Frederick at the Hope House, who continue to outreach to those who are underneath underneath the bridges. But we have to bring those into the fold and letting them know that they have worth, that they have a growth spurt, and that people are here that truly see them. And we're speaking through that, through a Housing First coalition, through making sure that everybody has a forever home. The process has started. Now let's expand on it. Thank you.
So next question. What are your thoughts on climate change as it applies to the city? For example, the city's climate action plan or the solar panel incentives for homeowners? Or is climate change something the city should not deal with?
Climate change is definitely something we as a city should deal with. And with the Climate Action and Adaptation Plan, I was able to sit on the board that we were able to elect those who were going to be and appointed those who were going to be serving on our technical advisory and also our equity advisory boards. When you think about climate and climate change and you think about what we just went through in February, we know that it's a must that we do everything we can to ensure our residents do not have to burden the carry and the cost of what is going to happen. Working with Stephen Lucky over at Gardopia, we know that we're putting together a food security summit. And what does that look like for an area that has been considered a food desert? We brought in the Healthy Corner stores, and we have 3 right here in the district. We have one that is sitting right in the area where I grew up, which is Coliseum Meat Market. To go in there and hear the stories of what it means to have people come in and buy quality food that speaks to their health is what we continue to do. Working with Every Child Needs a Right to Breathe and Breathe Initiative, which is for our youth, helping them to understand what is the difference between asthma, what is the difference when you go outside and there's an ozone action day, helping them understand what is a heat advisory and what do you need to do if a person is having a heat stroke, are the things that we as a city are developing and building on. But then you have to also look that we have the PACE program. The PACE program is specifically for our businesses that want to adapt to the differences of climate change, bringing in a greener space, bringing and building into green space when we're developing. Those are the things that we have to do as a community. We have to also work with our neighbors on what are the best solutions for your homes. What is it to weatherize? Right now here in District 2, we have over 65,000 homes that were built between the years of 1900 and 1951. Well, we know 1951, that was the first time the city of San Antonio saw a freeze. We have to go back and weatherize their pipes. Not only that, there is programming money that ACOG has right now for your residents if you want to weatherize, and it is free. Thank you so much.
So climate change is one of the greatest threats facing each and every one of us, as well as our futures and future generations to come. It is an existential threat. And we saw that in February, where not that long ago, we were still finding people frozen in their homes, dead. And there's no excuse for that, and there's a number of ways in which the city can step in. There's a few things I think need to change about our climate action plan, and one of those would be amending it so that carbon neutrality and zero waste are achieved by 2030, as well as shutting down, finally, the Spruce coal power plant. We need to invest in green energy. We need to prepare our infrastructure, and as the incumbent was saying, really expand home repair and insulation programs, because there are so many people who were literally left out in the cold in February. In addressing climate change, we have the opportunity to create green jobs when we're tackling issues of job development, of affordable housing. There's so many ways that solutions to these problems will connect in so many other ways. We also need to invest in incentives for green building so that anybody who is building new development is properly preparing for the future. And also, as was said with food, the food desert situation is that we should invest in far more community food gardens. We need to invest in a grocery incubator program in which people will have the opportunity to own their own grocery store and learn on the job how to manage that while working with the community food garden and making sure that everybody has access to affordable quality produce. Thank you.
Ella Austin's 10-year lease with the city is coming up. and that measure is on the agenda for the May 20th council meeting. Will you support the new lease or not?
Absolutely.
So thank you. Yes, we wanted to ensure when we first came in, that was one of the questions that was brought to our district office, is that Ella Austin was missing out on grants that they could qualify for because they were only in a 5-year lease. We were able to get extended for 10 years. We're able to do it again, and we want to continue to do it. But not only that, we have to build on the resources that we were given within the $500,000 to help with the city building that Ella Austin is in, to make sure that they don't have to use those grant dollars to go to the infrastructure of this building, but make sure that they use those dollars to get back into our community. So thank you.
So is that a yes?
All right. Next question. What is the best way for San Antonio to maintain? What is the best way for San Antonio to balance maintaining the character of the East Side neighborhoods while also encouraging private investment?
The best way to do that is through our UDC changes. And I know many here have been a part of the conversation of the UDC changes. We had one that truly spoke to development, as I was saying earlier, that if you are building in our neighborhoods, you have to build to the consistency of the houses that are here already. So if you see a house that is 2 stories and you're looking to do multifamily development within that same area, then your development has to be the same height of that 2 stories. If you look at the setback of that, you need to have those set back. Now, this is just a new UDC. It's only a year old. This wasn't something that was here prior to us coming into the district office and into council. But can we build on those UDC changes? Yes. We have to ensure, as a lot of our residents were saying, and Mr. Steve Versteege is one of those gentlemen who says that when you're bringing in gas stations, don't bring them directly into our neighborhood. So we have to work on those UDC changes, and those changes are coming. But listening to our community, having you a part of the UDC process, having you go through the UDC Academy, and making sure that we're bringing that to you is how we keep the identity and the consistency and the power of our unity within our community. So thank you so much.
Like I was saying earlier, the relationships with developers has to be carefully balanced and managed so that the will of developers never outweighs the will of the community. And there's thank you. And we are seeing homes being built in neighborhoods that do not look like the neighborhoods that they are put into. So that's something that we it's false. It's false. That's not what's happening. And a huge part of that is conversation with community members, saying that, yes, we recognize you have a plan. Here are some changes. Here are some proposals. What do you think? What is your vision for the future of your neighborhood? Not what is, I'm not gonna say no names of developers, but you know where I'm going with it. Thank you.
So one of the joys of my residence in District 2 personally is that I get to vote, and I feel passionately about some of these things too. Y'all need to be very careful that you don't cut into people's speaking time with your wonderful boisterousness, okay? I am told that it is showtime for the gift baskets. And everybody got their ticket in? Okay, Ben.
Huh? 361016. All right, there you go.
Yeah.
Other goodies, Saving San Antonio, book from the Conservation Society, $25 gift card from Good Goods, a candle. And gift basket number 2. Oh, you mentioned, okay. 361029. 029. Okay, you got it. And so that's it. More goodies, books, $24 gift card.
These gift baskets were made possible thanks to.
Oh, do you have that?
No. Oh, do I?
I thought you
Wait a
did.
minute. No. You
Oh,
have it.
here.
Okay.
You can reinterpret that.
Okay, so gift basket number 1 had a tote bag, notes pad, bottle opener, do good keychain, good goods candle, $25 gift card from Good Services, Savings San Antonio book from the Conservation Society of San Antonio, and by Chica Verde, a lacquered box. And gift basket number 2 was Fabulous Saving San Antonio book, a t-shirt from the Conservation Society of San Antonio, a wonderful potted succulent, lacquered box, $25 gift card from Chica Verde, a Dakota Ice House $25 gift card, and Good Goods, a San Antonio postcards book, cactus flower candle tote, decorative mirror, appetizer tray, wood dish, and cactus trivet. Wow.
And all you had to do was listen to us talk for a little bit.
Really, thank you all. I mean, see, showing up has all sorts of benefits today. And can I just say one more time to all of the people who made this possible today, and really, honestly, everybody put something into this. Good Goods. Diet, where are you? Thank you for everything you've done. And I always say that if the audio sucks, there is no video in my business. And Teach for America gave us audio. Woohoo! The San Antonio Heron obviously donated a person here to co-moderate with me. And local community news is out there helping cover this. The San Antonio Current is out there helping get your attention and cover this so that you can vote smart. The Conservation Society of San Antonio, also Chica Verde, the Dakota Ice House, Frost Bank, Ella Austin Community Service Center, and Beverly Watts Davis and the West Care Foundation. Thank you so very much for sponsoring and making this possible. One of the important things about NOWCast and the Heron is that we do pay our interns a living wage. So it's really important. When you support us, you support that. Now, where were we? Let me go back to, yes. As a city council person, one of your responsibilities is to appoint people to boards and commissions, including the Zoning Commission and the Historic Design and Review Commission. District 2 has within its boundaries 6 historic districts and numerous designated landmarks which make these positions critical. If you are elected, will you pledge to fill these seats with people who reside in the district and who have expertise and a passion for listening and learning?
So because of the way that zoning cases have gone, we have a host of community leaders and neighborhood leaders who are very well versed in zoning as well as the HDRC process. I will absolutely appoint community members who live within the district as well as those who are well versed and come from communities like ours. Thank you.
First, I want to thank all of our District 2 appointees for giving of your time, giving of your service, giving of your families to serve on our boards and commissions. That was the first call of action, and we saw that we got those boards filled. I want to thank specifically Ms. Monica Savino for stepping in. You've done a great job. We know that you're able to continue to do the job. So yes, we will continue to fill with our District 2 residents and those who are looking to step up to be appointed. Thank you.
All right. Now that Proposition A has passed, and bond dollars can be spent on things like affordable housing or economic development, on what types of projects specifically do you think those future dollars should be spent on?
So when you think about the amendment that we made to the charter for Proposition A to pass, and you think about affordability, we have to think about our seniors, but we also need to think about those youth who are aging out of foster care. And what does that look like when we talk about affordability? So we're looking at the 4% and the 9% tax credit properties, looking at our bond dollars and how we can all use these things together to make affordability across the board, to make it sustainable and sustainable for people who are moving into our neighborhoods, is how we will be using this. But it comes with a collaborative voice. It comes with a voice from our community, a voice from our neighborhood association presidents, a voice from each and every last one of us to say, where do we want to see this happen? It doesn't just happen by one vote on the dais. It happens with a collaborative effort of all of us coming together and saying, this is where we want to see it, this is what we want it to be used for, and this is how we're going to make it happen. It happens all together. So thank you.
One of the biggest problems with affordable housing in San Antonio is that the affordable housing is not so affordable. And one of the steps that we're going to have to take is work with HUD to make sure that we are actually using an AMI that is indicative of the actual AMI in San Antonio. As well, because Prop A passed, I think we're going to have to be absolutely hypercritical of what kinds of projects are being funded, because what I would hate to see is Prop A being used as a tool to funnel money into the pockets of developers, in which so many other ways that is happening. And we see it, developers will build high-rise luxury apartments, and a percentage of those have to be affordable. And they'll say, hey, we're gonna have a set number of units that are gonna be for 2 teachers and their family, people who make 2 teacher salaries. But 2 teachers and their family are not living in a 1-bedroom studio apartment at all. And so what we see is these kinds of snake-like maneuvers to get the tax abatements and to get these dollars, and that's unacceptable, and that's why we have to be hypercritical moving forward. But the affordable housing dollars should go to affordable housing. Thank you.
Tiffany, you could bring some of those cards up. We're good with a couple more questions, but that would be great. More people voted on both sides of Proposition B than voted for mayor. I mean, seriously, thousands more. Clearly, people in this community have some pretty strong opinions about it, but it didn't pass. What can you do as a city council person to make sure that the police are more accountable?
I was devastated when Proposition B did not pass. I was a huge supporter, and I believed that it was a potential to help mend police-community relations, because right now there's damage that right now we don't see a way out of. The contract negotiations are going to have to be transparent. They're going to have to be clear in the expectations of what City Council is asking, and clear in the way of what the community said when they voted overwhelmingly for or against Proposition B. People care about accountability, and that's why I want to take a moment to pause. Accountability is a huge issue, and I get emotional whenever I think about George Floyd and what started all of this, and the fact that this isn't over just because that vote happened. We're still going to be fighting for more. We're still going to be pushing for 174 and 143 years, hopefully not years from now, but accountability is going to come through those contract negotiations. Long-winded way of saying that that's what that's going to have to be. Thank you.
So we're at the negotiation table, and one thing that we know is that the things that we've been asking for as a community are being heard. Those things are going to come forth with the 180-day rules, making sure that we are able to see a record before it comes forward, or before we just think of voting on just the one thing that we know this officer did. But holding the arbitrators accountable, making sure that our police chief's decision can be final, are the things that we have to put in place right now. There are still conversations that we have to have, and making sure that our community is a part of that. We heard you back in June when you said that you did not want to have another hashtag in the city of San Antonio, such as George Floyd. We put forth the city council request to make sure that we took the knee off of our city's neck. We put forth the CCR, the city council request, to make sure that we didn't have the same Breonna Taylor hashtag by getting rid of the no-knock warrants. We continue to push forth initiatives through the surveys that we did on SAPD and me. And what does that look like when it comes to mental health? What does that look like when it comes to domestic violence? And what does that look like when we talk about our youth and how our youth are engaging with our police officers? That is a strong point that we heard from our city. Some say they feel safe, but I know right here in District 2, many say they feel like they're going through domestic terrorism. That's making sure our chief of police and our mayor are also accountable to standing up with us as a district and being at our rallies, being at our marches, and making sure that they're listening to the victims and the victims' families who say that they feel underrepresented, that their detectives are not calling them back, and holding those detectives accountable to calling our families and saying, this is where your case is. That's how we get to accountability. Thank you.
Didn't see this, and I want to say, District 2, we did hear you. Most, I told you that so many people came out to vote, but most District 2 precincts voted overwhelmingly in favor of Proposition P, and that's that. We hear you.
So the next question is on neighborhood associations, and this is from the audience. Currently, the city of San Antonio relies on neighborhood associations to give feedback about zoning and other neighborhood changes. Disputes have arisen between neighbors, and many feel all voices are not heard in these with these rules. Do you commit to work equitably with D2 citizens and neighborhoods, and how will you ensure you equitably represent all voices in D2?
So thank you so much. That comes with us unifying. It's not only about a neighborhood association. Your neighborhood is where you live, is where your children grow up, and it comes with all of us coming together. Unification is something that we have seen divided in our community. We need to stop the fighting amongst ourselves and start talking to each other. Communication is key. If you cannot get to your neighborhood association president, then send us that email. If you can't get to the email, then make that phone call. And if you can't get to the phone calls, then do what most people do, and that's message us on Facebook. We know that a lot of our communities have been able to get in contact with us by sending those messages, but it comes a lot through making sure that we are talking to one another. If you can stop me in Walmart and tell me all of your problems, then that's what you have to do. I'm right here in our community. We're not going anywhere. We're right here to do the job of the community and the district. And by us coming together, not fighting one amongst each other, but coming together as one voice, on one accord, united as one front, that's how we get the job done. Thank you so much.
I think it's quite simple. As a council person, you don't just represent neighborhood associations. There's a large bulk of the population that are not members of neighborhood associations, and their voices also deserve to be heard. Yes, we want to encourage collaboration between neighborhood associations and all who live within those neighborhoods, but we do have to recognize that sometimes there is that dissonance. And clear steps, always having open ears, not just for those who are in neighborhood associations or for presidents of organizations, but for all community members. Office hours where people can come share their feedback, both in the East Side office and in the Northeast office, and consistently soliciting feedback from all, not just neighborhood associations, while still recognizing the value in neighborhood associations and the leaders who do give of their time. We can do better at outreach to all. Thank you.
So there's one more from the audience on Prop B. We're not done yet. Did you or did you not choose to support Prop B? And what did you base your decision on?
Do you go first? Oh, yes. So I supported Proposition B, and I voted for it, not only because I feel like it's a means to accountability, but because I believe it's a means to fairer contract negotiations, because it's a means to mend community police relations. All of these are big pieces of a puzzle that, of course, Proposition B wasn't going to solve for itself, but was going to be a step in the right direction. Thank you.
So, as the city council person, I really could not take a stance for or against. However, what I do know and what I can tell you is through education, our community did have their questions and their doubts. But Prop B was not going to handle accountability. That is still up to Chapter 143, which is a state mandate. It was not going to handle the arbitration. That's still through Chapter 143, which is a state mandate. So when you look at what would have happened, it would have gotten rid of collective bargaining. That's true. But we needed to make sure that we have the things that we have in place because our City of San Antonio Police Department is unique. We would have lost those 6 executive leadership roles. We would have lost over 600 police officers with over 30 years of experience. We as a city and as a community would have lost our police force, which we are asking for more police officers. We had to make sure that we hold ourselves accountable. We have to make sure that when we're at that bargaining table, we are making sure that we are making the best decisions for our community. And we cannot stop there because we know that Chapter 143 is the state mandate. And if we turn ourselves back over into the state of Texas, which continuously likes to sue the city of San Antonio, we leave ourselves even more vulnerable. So we have to do more education. We have to bring it more to the community, and we have to have that community's voice when we're making these decisions. Thank you.
The question was, is that a no?
I cannot make a for or against as a city council person because we are in negotiations.
All right, next. Yeah, next topic, we're going to talk about infrastructure. D2 has many infrastructure challenges, trash, broken streets, etc. Sorry, I can't read the writing. What's your plan to improve the beauty, safety, and utility of D2, of District 2?
Thank you so much. We started an initiative called Clean Up, Live Up, Crime Down. And it's where we as a community get into our streets, get into our neighborhoods, get into our drainage ditches, and get the trash up. We've been over in Northeast Crossing. We've been over on W.W. White. We came down East Houston, and we still have more to do. We started by doing a ride through our community on the weekends and sending in the photos that we take of those areas that need to have those personal touches to it. And we send those images into our Public Works Department. We make sure that we have our city manager liaison, Mr. David McCary, who actually takes us and helps us get the initiatives that we want to see done. When you talk about infrastructure, if you look at our IMP with all of our streets that are needing those works, when we meet with the East Side Advisory Committee and making sure that the 93 issues that they brought to the table are being fulfilled, we have 33 of those 93 already taken care of. We're starting now working with West Hine down to South Hine Road to put in speed bumps that they're requesting. That is a $22,000 project. We are making sure that we're listening to our community, and that is through the building of community coalitions, building of community outreach, but making sure that you are calling in that 311 call. And if you're not getting it done through 311, giving us your reference number so we can escalate those problems that are being overlooked is how we continue to work on the problems here in District 2. But it starts with all of us. And we, as a community and as a city council, are in the streets, building up our community, cleaning up our community, and forming those bonds. Thank you. We would love for you to join us.
Yes. See, I told you this would happen.
Thank you. So whenever I think about infrastructure in District 2, I think about my role as a teacher, And I think about the number of students I've had who their parents have had to send them walking to school early in the morning, still dark outside with no street lights, no sidewalks, and very poorly maintained roads. And that's not what my students, that's not what their families, that's not what any of us deserve. One of the biggest problems I see with our infrastructure management program is that it takes 6 years for an item to get added to a list and then reach completion. That's unacceptable. We need to look at ways to make this more cost effective so that we can do more projects every year, so that we're not waiting 6 years for a street to be repaved. We also need to increase our street lighting. That's going to be a big undertaking. We have one of the most unlit sides of town in the entire city, and that increases crime. That increases the number of car accidents and the number of instances where people are being hurt. And streetlights is such a simple solution, but we're not investing in the way that we should be. Thank you.
To the person who talked about the waivers by DSD, remind me what DSD stand for? Thank you, Department, okay. I wanted to say it so everybody remembers what that is. In recent months, administrative waivers by the Department of Developmental Services have been liberally granted. Will you support a robust effort to address this once the UDC task forces start meeting again?
That's another one. I absolutely will be supportive of that. And it's another example of ways in which we are more concerned with the profits and the interests of developers rather than the people and the environment. It's simple. Yes. Thank you.
Definitely support it. We're having a conversation on it now. It's been brought forth with the tree ordinance and the waivers that have been given with the tree ordinance as an example. But just to speak, we're doing it also with our street lighting study. We're doing it also with our drainage study. So we have to hold our departments and our city heads accountable for the things that we're doing as well. So yes.
Next question. How will you ensure minority and black contractors are afforded the opportunity to be contracted for community projects?
Thank you so much. We actually had a meeting with the black contractors of San Antonio with their president. We had a meeting with Rod Sanchez and with the developmental services. And one thing that we found out is that we have to do some better understanding and restructuring of our contract system. That comes with us sitting down at the table and walking our developers through the process of where they're needed. We have a bond assistance program that is also being developed with the city of San Antonio and developmental services to speak to getting our contractors bonded. A lot of times we know that the finances are an issue. So we want to make sure that we're overcoming those finances, overcoming those obstacles, and making sure that everyone is able to get a contract with the city of San Antonio. Thank you.
So with this process, minorities is treated as a very broad term. And when we think about equity, we want to make sure that everybody is being represented in a way that is equitable, keyword. And one of the groups that is often being left out, and it was originally, the minority category was originally meant for black contractors, and now we're being left out. And so one of the key points I think needs to be added is in the contract procurement process, a point for black-owned businesses specifically, a category for LGBTQ-owned specifically, disabled-owned specifically, all of these categories so that we can then quicker identify what minorities are being represented, not just one category of women, black, brown, everybody lumped together. Thank you.
Okay, this is another up-down question on cash bail. Yes or no? Do you support an end to cash bail in Bexar County? If yes, how will you support it? If no, how will you keep it?
Absolutely abolish cash bail. And with that, I think we need to see an implementation of alternatives to fines and fees in our municipal court system, and in a number of ways. Yes.
So yes, cash bail is used as a way of keeping those who cannot afford to go home in jail. So we need to make sure that we are putting in policies and procedures that speak to that, working with our DA, but also making sure that our state legislature has the right information to put forth the bills that are there in the chambers that are just sitting there collecting dust. We need to make sure that it is done throughout across the board. It's not just the city of San Antonio or a Bexar County issue. This is a statewide issue. So we need to work with our state, making sure that their bills that they're pushing, making sure that our activists that are out there in the streets are making it down to Austin to push for the right for these bills to go forward, so that we can have this conversation and make sure that those who are wanting to go home can go home without having to be stuck because they just don't have the money to. So yes, thank you.
I'm sorry, so yes, you support
Yes.
end to cash bail in Bexar County, okay.
All right, next question. This is a bit of a long question. It's on East Side legacy and community investment. Miss Matlin Lee has lived on the East Side for over 60 years, her whole life. She is committed to passing down her home to her children and feels strongly that the legacy of home ownership, once denied to her family, is a blessing and a responsibility. She's concerned about the lack of investment on the East Side. When will it look like North Side, South Side, etc.? Bringing stores and businesses to D2 is critical to keeping D2 money in the district. What will you do?
Thank you, Ms. Madeline. As we know, that starts with having consistency in the seat. When we ask about what we see in other districts, they kept their council person for 8 years. They didn't throw them out with the bathwater. They decided to make sure that they worked together with their council person to bring in these initiatives into the district. They wanted to make sure they saw consistency that matters, but making sure that we're able to get you those wheels that you need, making sure that we're able to clear those titles that we need, making sure that we're working with our property taxes and working with those who are property tax appraisals, and making sure that our community understands when you need to appraise and when you need to protest and what grounds do you have to protest those taxes. We have seen that happen in the district, and those are the ways that we keep our legacy homeowners in their legacy homes, how we continue to pass down that generational wealth. That is what we do. I didn't understand it until I had to step out on faith and build and buy my first home, and I understood it because when I looked around, I saw that my mother is there. I see that my great niece is there. That's how we do it. We have to make sure that we as a community are educated. And once we educate each other, then we can empower the next one to do the same thing. It starts with us having those conversations, bringing in the people that understand the process. But consistency is key to getting anything done. And if we continue to start over, we'll never be finished. Thank you so much.
Would you mind repeating the question one more time?
Sure. East Side resident Mrs. Matlin Lee has lived on the East Side for over 60 years, and she is committed to passing down her home to her children and feels strongly that the legacy of home ownership, which was once denied to her family, is a blessing and a responsibility. And she's concerned about the lack of investment on the East Side. So she's asking, when will it look like the North Side, South Side, bringing stores and businesses to District 2? She feels like it's critical to keep District 2 money inside District 2.
Absolutely, absolutely. I identify a key problem here is that a lot of the development that we're seeing, the businesses that are being brought in and the zoning that's happening, it's a lot of car washes and gas stations. I think we have enough car washes and gas stations. What we need are those activities that our young people can go to after school so that they're not roaming the streets unsupervised. We need to support those creatives and those entrepreneurs that exist in our city because they are abundant and they need support. We do also need to make sure that the businesses that are being brought in are hiring from D2. So any of those corporations that are getting tax incentives, make sure that they are hiring from within our district. So that's how we keep the jobs in District 2, but keeping the money in District 2 comes down to building places that we can spend our money in District 2 so we don't have to travel to the south, west, and north side. Thank you.
I just want to say one more time, thank you guys. You guys are actually the ones who made this all possible. That wonderful crowd out there. This is really great to see you all in real life. Shootings in District 2. How do you plan specifically to reduce shootings in the area?
So there's a number of questions that I think we ask our council members and our candidates every 2 years, and this is one of them. We talk about gang activity, we talk about shootings, and what can the council person do, and really what can one person do. There's got to be a huge multifaceted, multi-pronged solution to these problems. And one of those is that development of a department specifically meant to reduce crime and recidivism in the districts and throughout the city. These will be experts in their field. We don't have firefighters writing fire codes. We need to have experts in criminology writing policy that is going to reduce crime, that's going to reduce shootings. We don't have any criminologists contracted or employed by the city. So who is writing the policy? Who's advocating for the solutions? It's not experts, and that's the problem. Thank you.
So just yesterday, Bishop Rosa Wilson launched a movement that she's continuing, stemming from a shooting that happened on Super Bowl Sunday at her church. It's called Stop in the Name of Love. And that means that we as a community have a mission and have been given a call to action to come together, to get into our streets, to get into our neighborhoods, to get into our churches, to get into our schools, to truly start tackling this issue of generational crime that we see in our districts. It starts with each and every one of us that are sitting here today. It starts with us making sure that our youth understand that the word can't isn't a thing that they need to understand. They need to understand they can. It starts with impeding and imploring and making sure that they know their worth. It starts with us saying, guess what? We're going to stand out here so you can see us. Because when you start to see us, you know that you just can't do anything to us. It's united we stand, divided we fall. This is how we get ahead of this. We cannot police the issue away. It is an issue that has been plaguing our community for years. And it starts with having people that understand that. We had a meeting and a forum, and Dr. Doshi Piper came with understanding that we need to have restorative justice. And restorative justice is understanding that those second chance individuals need a place to live. They need a place of worth. They need to understand that they can be employed. They need to understand that what they have done isn't going to define them as of now. We need to change the mindset, change the narrative of what we're seeing, and that is how we're going to tackle the issue of crime here in District 2. Thank you.
My turn? Okay. We've covered a lot of topics this afternoon, but what do you think is the biggest issue facing San Antonio, and how do you plan to address it? That's the question.
One of the biggest issues right now facing the city of San Antonio is the city council's full transparency of how the process works. If our community is not educated enough to understand what we or our city council are doing, then we as a city council have actually laid a foundation of where our community cannot step up and empower themselves. We have to change that. And we have to change that by giving you the information ahead of time. Not just when you see it on Wednesday, not just when you see it on Thursday, but how do you see it beforehand? Being proactive in our steps, being proactive in our budget policy that is coming up in July. You guys need to be ahead of the game of understanding what is District 2 going to receive in this budget coming up now. Not wait till we get to July and then say, what are we going to ask for? When we look at our bond process, let's be proactive now in the things that we as District 2 want to see in our bond process. And then it also starts with us being transparent. If we have money left over from our bonds, where is that money going? Are we putting it back into the district? Education is key. Education is the rule that we must live by to make sure that we're empowering our community to come down to City Hall and say we do not like what we're seeing happen in District 2. That is how we uplift each other. It's through making sure that you have the information beforehand, making sure that you can call and say, this is what's missing. It's closing those gaps. And by closing those gaps, we build a better, stronger, more united city of San Antonio, and especially a more united and a together, forward motion, forward momentum, forward pushing District 2. Thank you so much.
I think the biggest problem facing District 2 and the city of San Antonio is poverty. And this is a huge issue that one solution wouldn't solve. But we need the development of jobs, union jobs that do not exploit their workers. We need to support organizations that are doing the work to support our community and have been doing the work for a long time. We need to build truly affordable housing, not housing that was built to profit developers. We need to decriminalize poverty, because when you criminalize poverty and you're trying to arrest away the problem, you're building a deeper hole, and no one can get out of that. We also need an increase in apprenticeship and job trainings. So all of these are small solutions, but the biggest problem is poverty, and we're all gonna need to come together to figure out how are we going to solve that. Thank you.
I thank you. That your question. I'm sorry. There was a person in the audience who said, "Please share what you have accomplished for District 2." And we really were trying to make sure that all of these questions were not directed to individuals, but were directed to both candidates. So I think Ben's question covered that as well. With the what is the biggest issue facing the city? Okay. A number of city board positions that pertain to District 2 remain vacant. Once elected, what is your timeline to fill all open vacancies?
We're gonna have a 3-month challenge to fill all the boards and commissions. Absolutely. 3 months is the deadline I'm setting for myself, about 90 days. Thank you.
So when you look at the District 2 boards and commissions, we were blessed to have people to step up and say, I'm ready, I'm willing to serve. And we've been able to fill our boards and commissions. Now, if you look at the MLK Commission, yes, there are still a lot of open vacancies with the MLK Commission, but we as a city council are only able to really appoint 25 people to the MLK Commission. The rest of the seats are open for our MLK Commission to fill. But when you look at the rest of our boards and commissions, we've had people step up and actually fill those, because that was the biggest problem, is that we didn't have those voices and those people representing our district. Now we do. We continue to have the call, and if you are willing and wanting to be a part of the boards and commissions, please come talk to us. Let us help you fill out those boards and commission applications. We are doing a revamp of the application, so if you're having trouble finding it, we're here to assist you. Thank you.
So this one comes from a member of the Dignity Hill Neighborhood Association. What is your plan to address and update existing SAHA housing that is poorly managed and suffers from deferred maintenance? SAHA meaning the Housing Authority.
So just this past week, we passed the ordinance and the Housing Voucher Initiative policy. And what that means is that we're going to start looking at all of these developments, all of the people that are receiving the City of San Antonio incentives. And how are you caring for the people that are living there? Are you accepting these vouchers? Because we know a lot of our community, even though they get 3 months to use the voucher, they still can't afford or find housing. But when you talk about SAHA, making sure that we are holding them accountable as well. What we saw in February spoke to a dilapidated system, and we have to update that system. We have to ensure that SAHA is not only just moving people into the properties, but we do not want to keep seeing the troubleshooter stories about the roaches and the rats that are in the places that people have to live. It starts with us. And if we can give incentives for you to develop a property, then we as a city should be able to go in and say, where is the problem? Let us help you fix it. And if that calls on us changing some things in the way that policies and procedures are written at SAHA, that's what we do. It works together when we all have a voice. It doesn't work when it's just one-sided or one area. No, it takes all of us, and it starts with us right now having this discussion so that we can get to the solution. Thank you.
Can you repeat it one more time for me?
Sure. What is your plan to address and update existing Saha housing that is poorly managed and suffers from deferred maintenance?
Absolutely. So one of the biggest issues that exists in San Antonio government is that it feels like we're constantly reinventing the wheel. There are other cities that are managing similar programs and they're doing it well. We need to be looking to them for guidance. We need to be looking at some of those solutions that are being implemented and seeing how they might be best fit and utilized in San Antonio. We also need to increase oversight and accountability and expand community-led review and oversight of this organization that is handling money and is handling a delicate issue that is affordable housing. But again, this is going to be another really complex issue that we need to continue to look at solutions and see what's being done well in other places. Thank you.
I just noticed that we're coming to the end of the road here for this, and we're going to finish up with closing statements from both candidates. And as we told you, it's going to be 2 minutes of closing statements. So if you guys want to take half a second to collect your thoughts, I'm going to take a moment of personal privilege and ask wonderful Erica down there on the camera if you will swing it around to the audience. All right, guys. Raise your hands. How many of you are registered to vote? Woohoo! Woohoo! And when is election day? Anybody know when early voting starts? Okay. And on NOWCastSA, we have the most popular piece of content on our website going back 10 years is our polling places map. It started out as an early voting places map, but that will tell you where to find your polling place, whether it's early voting or on election day. 185,000 people have used it already. So, and probably you're one of them, because if you looked it up on your phone, you got our map. So, hope you will go there again.
There's one last gift basket.
Oh, there's a gift basket. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do it.
You have the paper to describe.
Oh, I have the paper to describe it. Okay.
I think it's the same as before. I don't think you have to.
Gift basket number 3, a fabulous Saving San Antonio book and t-shirt from the Conservation Society of San Antonio. Wonderful potted succulent lacquered box and $25 gift card from Chica Verde. Dakota Ice House, $25 gift card, and by Good Goods, San Antonio postcards book, cactus flower candle, tote, decorative mirror, appetizer tray, wood dish, and cactus trivet. Woohoo! Thank you, Det. Okay.
So the winner is 361046. 46. Next one. We'll do another one. 361034. 34. Okay.
Woohoo!
All right.
Okay, so we went first with opening statements.
Right.
So she gets to do first opening statement. Okay. All righty. There you go.
Thank you. So first, thank you to NOWCast. Thank you for continuing to put us as a voice out to the community. As the city councilwoman, we know that a lot of things in District 2 are changing. We know that District 2 is rising to the occasion of being one of the best districts here in the city of San Antonio. I am your city councilwoman, Jada Andrews-Sullivan, and for 2 years I've had the privilege and the honor of being humble enough to serve you. I continue to work in dignity and pride as we continue to build together. When I say we, I mean we as a district. not working in silos, not working in pits, not working in personalities, not working for one cause, but working for a cause that is going to unify us is what we do together. We do it together by making sure that everyone is accounted for. We do it by not leaving anyone out. We do it by not labeling those who have come back into our community from a society where they were just a number. We do it by understanding that mental health is a crisis. We do it by making sure that our community's youth know that they have leadership that not only do they have an opportunity to see only on TV, but that they have an opportunity to see in person. We continue to build, working on a united front. And that means that we leave away the bias. We leave away the deceit. We leave away the greed. We leave away the pride. And we leave away the prejudice. We lead in understanding that community unity is the only unity that we as District 2 can make things happen. When we make things happen together, we can stand with our shoulders back, our head up, and our chest out and say, we are the East Side. We are the Northeast Side. We are the Southeast Side. We are downtown. We are 60 square miles wide, and we lead with pride. That is how District 2 makes the united front. And we come down to City Hall, and we make our voices known. No longer do we stand with just a city council person, but we stand united as one, District 2. Let's continue to educate, empower, and uplift our district. Thank you so much.
So my name is Jalen McKee-Rodriquez, and I'm a high school math teacher, and I'm asking for your vote and for your trust in me to be your next councilman. I'm running because I believe we need to be represented by working class, regular people. And when we think about what that means, right now, we're being represented by elected officials on all levels who have multiple streams of income and in multiple homes you don't know which one they live in, and are making way more money than the average person in San Antonio. If elected, I will only be making the $45K. I will have the lowest income of every single council person. That is the representation that we need. That is going to be a voice of working class people who make $45,000, who are going to feel the impacts of the decisions that they make in their neighborhoods and in their communities. And when it comes time to pass policy, with me, you will get policy. I won't be afraid to tackle complex issues. I will constantly be working with community leaders, organizations, and elected officials to pass policy on a number of issues such as homelessness, community safety, housing, climate change. And you'll also get an open office and answered phone calls. I commit to all of that and more if you elect me to be your councilman. Thank you.
Thank you both so very, very much. I want to give one more shout out to the people and organizations who made this possible. Good Goods, thank you, Jet, for those fabulous gift baskets. Teach for America for the audio, without which you would never have heard this. San Antonio Heron, and local community news and the San Antonio Current. You can find stories about this event on all of those organizations. We're all best friends. And you can also find, we were live streaming it. It's up on YouTube, and even before you walk out the door, you'll be able to go to NOWCastSA and to our YouTube channel. It's right up at the top of the website, and you can replay this, send it to your friends so that they can vote smart, please. And the story about this will be on the Heron. The story will be on the San Antonio Current. The story will be on local community news and on NOWCastSA. So I hope you can't miss it. And please, please point people to the YouTube video so that they will know where the candidates stand and so they can vote smart. We also thank West Care Foundation and Beverly Watts Davis for sponsoring this and truly making this possible. The Conservation Society of San Antonio, Chico Verde, the Dakota Ice House, Frost Bank, and of course, the Ella Austin Community Center. Liz, take a bow. Thank you all.
incumbent, Councilwoman Jada Andrews-Sullivan, and Jalen, you got too many names for me, brother.
People online can't hear you without.
Everybody can hear me. I don't want to keep you. I just want to know who stacked the giveaways. I didn't get a card. I didn't get a number. I didn't get nothing. This is our community center, but let's please remember that it goes to City Council on the 20th, Thursday. Please remember that. We don't have another one if we don't have this one. Thank you for coming.